So right now I am wearing what is essentially swim trunks, and I'm able to carry a firearm without it really impacting my day to day. I'm not carrying a tiny gun. I'm carrying a full-size Glock 19 with a flashlight, a red dot, and a spare magazine, and I'm not using the PHLSTER Enigma. Now you might have seen me talk about this before, but today I'm going to talk about why I am no longer using the PHLSTER Enigma. I do not want this to come off as me bashing this product, as I do believe that a lot of people see great success with it. I'm just going to talk about why, for me, it's not really the best choice and what I have moved on to. So we're going to talk about some pros and cons of the Enigma, and then we're going to talk about why I switched and what I switched to. Now, before we really get into it, I do want to say thank you to one of the sponsors of the channel, Last Shot AZ. They are currently, as of today, because of the Rody versus Bonta court case that was heard by Judge Benitez and paid for and supported by the CRPA, able to ship ammo directly to people's doors. Previously, this was not a thing in the state of California, but because Last Shot AZ has historically supported the state of California by shipping to COE and FFL03 holders, they were one of the first people to get on board with actually shipping now that the background check system requirement for ammunition in the state of California is temporarily not a thing. It's likely that this might go away. If you use code Reno on any sale over $250, I believe you'll get free shipping. If you're not in the state of Arizona, you won't have to pay sales tax. Right now, their prices are cheaper than what you will see at the bottom of AmmoSeek, which is pretty neat when you factor in that you're not paying tax or shipping. So check out Last Shot AZ. I will have a link to their social media in the pinned comment. So today we're talking about the PHLSTER Enigma, why I've moved on from it, and what I'm using today. So real quickly, I want to talk about some pros of this because I don't want this to come off as overly negative. It simply didn't work well for me. So some of the pros that I had written down was that this can be worn with anything. Like the system that I'm using now, you can wear this with basketball shorts. You can wear this with a dress. I know only like 2% of you that watch this channel are female. So your needs and whatever it is that you wear is probably different than what I wear. And your needs and body type is probably different from what I wear and what I am. So probably very good for you. Also very appealing for a lot of men, especially if you're not one that normally wears a belt. So it can be worn with anything, with or without a belt. Like I said, with or without. So it is independent of your belt because it uses this little drawstring system. I think I got the one with the quick detach lever here, which is pretty nice. So it's pretty easy to take this off because this little belt replaces your belt. It goes around your body, allows you to carry in the appendix position, which is very popular nowadays. This is quick adjustable, so I can just tighten it up or loosen it up as I need to. You can make this fit for pretty much any body type. Takes a little bit of work, but you can make it work. Now, there are common holsters available, whether they're light bearing or not, and there's a variety of options that come either configured and set up already, or you can provide your own holster option, which could be cheaper if you already have the holster. And this allows you to carry, this is a PHLSTER Floodlight, I believe it is, which allows you to carry pretty much any gun with an X300 on it. So this is a pretty full-size setup that allows you to carry in shorts. Now, you can also carry it tucked in, like if you have to wear suits, which the system that I'm using today is going to be dependent more on the holster that you choose, whether or not it's going to be tuckable, and wouldn't really work in a business environment. Whereas this, you can wear a full suit with this bad boy, and I think that's pretty neat. They are configurable and modular. If you choose to go down that route, you're going to need to join the Facebook group. I believe there's a Enigma Holster Owners Facebook group. If someone knows what the name of it is, check it out, link it or reference it in the comments because YouTube will probably delete your links. But it is very versatile and allows you to carry in ways that you wouldn't with a traditional belt and holster system. Okay, now the cons. The cons for me are pretty big. Now, the initial investment to get into this is basically $190, but realistically, you're going to want to spend the extra $30 and get the more comfortable belt padded system for the back, because for me, I simply couldn't ever get this super comfortable or super retained. It was kind of like and super retained. I was kind of choosing between concealment and how comfortable it was, because if I loosen it up, it's a little bit more comfortable. If I tighten it down, it's a little bit more concealed because it pulls to my body a little bit better. I'm 6'2", about 200 pounds, and I'm fairly lean. So I'm not dealing with some of the constraints and issues that some people in America might be. But for me, I just found that I was choosing between super comfortable. This isn't a uncomfortable system once I got it set up, but I was choosing between ultra comfort and ultra concealed, which realistically, most people are probably not going to notice that you're carrying a gun anyway. I open carried at a gun store for many years, and oftentimes customers would not notice that I was carrying a bright red Glock 34 on my hip until I pointed at it and referenced it. So people are probably not noticing it nearly as badly as you think, but that was just kind of one little con for me. $190 to get the setup. Realistically, you're going to want to spend the extra money for the padded belt, so it's about $230 unless you provide your own holster, which then gets dedicated to that, so you have to bake in that cost. So about $200 for a holster. Yes, it is also a belt system, but since removing this is a pain in the butt and is not something that you can just do without committing to that long term, or you're spending 15 minutes every single day that you want to swap this around, for me, it's not modular in that sense. You can add stuff to this, like a spare mag holder, pepper spray holder, all that stuff. I know Active Self Protection is a real big fan of these, and he has his set up. The problem with the modularity of this is that if you're gonna be using this system, the Enigma system, you basically need to have a Facebook account so that you can join the Facebook group for the people that use these holsters to learn on how to set it up, which if you've got the TISM like I do, can be helpful. It's just that my TISM wasn't really meshing with that, and I didn't want to put that much work into it. Carried with this for a long time. It works. It absolutely works, and it is convenient in some ways. The problem that I found myself often running into was that if I wanted to take this off, if I wanted to take the gun off and go somewhere where there's metal detectors, or I could not carry a gun legally, like a courthouse or that kind of thing, I would find myself having to take this entire thing off, which includes this little leg leash that goes around your leg and retains it, because this leg leash goes here basically, or other leg, and that's what keeps this whole thing from riding up and down when you go to draw. The leg leash, I think there are modifications for it. Again, gonna have to check out that Facebook group if you want to know about that kind of stuff. But the leg leash for me, I found that I was never quite able to get it to a point where it wasn't riding up and getting caught up in my bits. It wasn't pinching or anything like that, but it just always wanted to work itself up and pull the leg of my boxers up, which if you're a woman, probably not a concern for you. If you have legs that are very, very wide at the top and very, very narrow at the knee, probably not going to be an issue for me. But my legs are just kind of thick and blocky, so for me, I found that this was riding up a lot. If you're wearing clothing that requires you to wear a belt and you're putting it on top of this, it's going to add a little bit more bulk to it. Not a whole lot, but it's not exactly something that for me, I found a lot of success wearing an additional belt on top. So maybe that was a skill issue. Maybe I should have joined the Facebook group and figured it out. But for me, I just found that this system was in general complicated, expensive, and just it wasn't perfect for me. It didn't integrate into my day-to-day life as well as this new belt that people recommended to me. When it comes to taking it on and off, like I was talking about, taking it off, putting it away, this is a big amount of stuff. I put that in my center console or put it in a locked container, put it wherever. Then when I want to put it back on, if I'm in public, this is kind of an ordeal. You basically need to pull your pants down in order to get this leg leash on if you're wearing pants that aren't Jinko jeans from the 90s. So for me, I found that it led to, if I was going to have to put this on out in public, open both doors on my truck and put it on, I was going to have to not use the leg leash, which ultimately, if I tightened down the belt tight enough, I didn't really need the belt or the leg leash. I've also found that the leg leash popped free. Maybe that's just because how I had it set up on my legs. If my legs flex when I'm walking or jogging, I found that sometimes this would just pop free. Again, maybe skill issue, but ultimately it's part of why I moved away from this. In addition to that, the big reason is I switched from carrying with a Surefire X300 to a TLR7 on my Glock 19, which means that if I wanted to carry with the Enigma, I'd be buying another holster for this, which I had to do anyway, but then I would have to marry it to this system. So if I wanted to have the ability to swap lights that I was carrying frequently, or swap guns if I was carrying multiple different firearms, I would need to spend about $200 per setup that I wanted to run. And that's ultimately why I moved away from it. What I'm carrying now is actually the Hunter Constantine concealed carry belt. Now I'm going to try to not show anything that's inappropriate for YouTube, but this allows me to carry my full-size Glock 19 with a spare magazine and a Surefire and a Streamlight TLR7 flashlight. This setup is not small by any means. Now, the belt that I am using is the Hunter Constantine belt. I believe you can get these from Tier 1, I believe it's Tier 1, but Hunter Constantine on his website also sells these. Now, this belt has kind of two parts to it. The front here, as you can see, if I kind of wobble it around, the front part that goes in the front of your body is metal reinforced, so it's kind of stiff. This allows it to hold the gun in place and provide the rigidity that you need where you need it, but the backside is elastic and it's adjustable. This just kind of goes on a tri-glide. It's sort of easier to tighten down, I've found, while I'm wearing it. So this elasticity gives you the stretch and the comfort that you need around the back, but the front being rigid allows it to be sturdy and hold your gun where it needs to be, keeps it in place, doesn't need a leg leash, very simple. It's basically got two quick points that you can adjust from. Try to get that here. Clips in here or clips in there. Tighter or looser on the fly. This can be done fairly quickly. It's not the easiest in the world. I find that the adjustment on the Enigma is faster, but the overall comfort of this I find far superior. I've worn this on jogs, which I know, cardio, it's gonna kill your gains. But I've worn it on jogs, I've worn it on a lot of walks, I've worn it in scenarios where I'm not wearing pants, where I'm wearing shorts, basketball shorts, that kind of thing. And I find that this provides enough support, plenty of support. I don't want it to seem like it's just barely squeaking by. This provides enough support without it requiring me to wear pants with belt loops. A lot of people in the past, before the Enigma, before this kind of thing came out, their solution to carrying with basketball shorts or pants without belt loops was either wear a normal belt that just cinches down around your waist, or use something like ulti clips, which the ulti clips can really only support a small gun and you're relying on the strength of the drawstring in your shorts. But with this setup here, the Hunter Constantine belt, now disclosure, I have no relationship with Hunter Constantine. I follow him on Instagram, I believe. Gun Thoughts actually told me about this belt. I used code THOUGHTS to get, I think, 10% off. I really like this belt. My stepdad was interested in concealed carry, and he often wears only shorts. You will not see that man in pants. He was wondering what kind of belt I would recommend, and I recommended this. Now, I normally wear a 32 or a 34-inch waist pants, depending on how they fit. Generally, because of the thickness of my legs and junk in the trunk, I wear a 34 pant waist size, and this is the larger of the two sizes of belt. As you can see, before I made that adjustment, I generally find myself carrying this with it almost tightened all the way down. So I probably could have gotten away with the smaller belt. This metal section kind of goes from front of the hip bone to front of the hip bone on me. So if you're looking for what size you should get and you're about a 34, you might be able to get away with the smaller belt if you're really more like a 32. The 32, 34 is right where the size cuts off, and I think that the smaller size probably would have done just fine, because on the full size one, I'm tightening this down as small as it gets. And if I got the smaller one, I probably would have made it a little bit tighter than this. But for me, I found that this belt allows me to do everything that the Enigma did, but it's so much easier to use. If I want to take my gun off, I take the whole holster off, put it in a locked container if I need to, and just take it off. And then I still have a belt on my pants, or without the need for a belt on my pants. The dog wanted to say hello. If you're wondering where all the cat hair on my clothing comes from, it's actually just this dude right here. So I've found that this belt allows me to have less friction in my day-to-day life when it comes to carrying a gun, and that's ultimately what I wanted. I carry a full-size gun, generally. I'm almost always going to be carrying the biggest gun that I can carry. If you're a smaller person, especially if you're a woman, if you're wearing clothing that doesn't permit the carrying of a full-size gun, you're going to want to look for a solution like this. And I think the Enigma, for a lot of people, is a great choice. It just, for me, I found that this was a lot better. This belt runs about $100, I think. Couple that with a holster, and the price is about the same. But if I want to carry a different gun, I can still use this belt. If I want to change the light and use a different holster, I can still use this belt. On the Enigma, if I buy one of the ones that are not modular and baked in with the holster, you got to buy a whole new $190 to $230 system for every gun, for every light that you want to carry. It just adds a lot of cost to it that, for me, being that I'm a YouTuber and I constantly am testing things, I found that this was specifically better, but I think that this would work for people that have a carry rotation, like if you carry a P365 and a Glock 19 and a little mini, micro compact, I think that this might be a better setup. But for the average person, I think the Enigma does just fine. I just wanted to talk to you today why I have chosen to move away from the PHLSTER Enigma. Let me know what you think down below. Have you used the PHLSTER Enigma? What have you thought about it? How have you made it work for you? Have you used the Hunter Constantine belt? Again, I have no relation with Hunter Constantine or with PHLSTER at all. There is no one being paid to talk. I'm not being paid to talk about this. I did do a sponsored ad read for an ammo company, which, if you shoot guns, you should be buying ammunition. And if you're in the state of California, you should be supporting the companies that have always shipped to FFL03 and COE holders. Do not buy from people who did not want to work with you when it was inconvenient for them and only want your money. They're not supporting California. Support the people that you know support you first. I'm not saying don't buy ammunition at all if that's your only option. Get what you can get, exercise your Second Amendment rights, but maybe consider supporting the people that have supported you the whole time. You guys know the drill. Have fun, be safe, stay dangerous. Peace.